Alright, what is going on, everybody? It is Halomcr with some more articles pertaining to the sun. As in recent time, my articles have kind of been leaning on the whole sun and updates with it and the solar flares and pretty much anything to do with the sun. As again, in recent times, there's been a lot of chaotic activity, and these are very unprecedented times. I mean, we're on the brink of having a World War III. Facing cyber attacks. I mean, you name it. We're pretty much we're going through the big motion right now that is life and reality of what things have come down to. So in today's article, we have a huge solar flare hurled at by the sun at over a million miles per hour, set to spark scary geomagnetic storm. And in my last article, we somewhat talked about how I didn't think that these solar flares were going to be that big of a problem, but I had also mentioned how even scientists can't predict everything. Like, they so highly claim that they can predict every single thing. That's just not true. I don't think that they can necessarily predict the sun's total patterns of what it's going to do. I think they can assume, and they can have good assumptions, but I mean, there's just too much shit going on with the sun. There's just too many articles. There's just too much coverage on the sun for there not to be something more serious at hand, because I can't think of the last time I've seen the sun be talked about as much as it has been in recent times. So there's something scary coming. I'd like to say maybe a total blackout, but who knows at this point. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier in my last article, which I'll leave up at the end of the video for those that haven't seen it or might be brand new to the channel. I talked about how there could be a solar flare so strong that somehow it takes down Earth's atmosphere, its magnetic atmosphere. Essentially, that's what I would like to think, that something like that could happen. But I mean, I don't really want to think like, oh, I'm glad that's happening, but I would like to think it would be something like that, something that we can actually predict, because then therefore maybe somehow try to stop it, maybe try to reinforce our magnetic field somewhat with some kind of material. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming. I'm not a scientist when it comes to this kind of shit. I don't know what would be the best option. But again, it's nice to know what's going to happen before it happens. That's the way that I, tend to, like my things told to me, like, this is going to happen, but it's going to happen on this day, and this is what it's going to be. So you're more prepared, So, that said, let's continue. The sun is getting more and more active day by day. It reaches the peak of its 11-year-old cycle, while unleashing more volatile solar flares. And CME's recently space agency warned that a strong solar flare is headed towards the Earth after a violent disturbance on the surface of the sun was noticed yesterday. The sun hurled a plume of dark plasma into space following a dramatic explosion around the sunspot R3076. So, on one end of the perspective, you have science trying to cushion this, essentially like cushion the impact of news from this, making it not as serious so people aren't concerned. But I'm concerned. It is definitely getting hotter. Every year it's getting hotter. And in the next billion years, when we're all dead, the water's going to dry out. I mean, that's only the inevitable. And every year, again, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, to eventually where you won't even be able to go outside anymore. And if you do go outside, you're going to have to be like wearing some kind of anti-sun type of material. I'd say this is probably about the time when HARP gets announced and HARP starts getting utilized more. I think a way that they'll try to stop this, at least in my opinion, would be to use the cloud machine to make more clouds to block out the sun as much as you could, but then thus far would be ultimately destroying wildlife in the process and natural cycle of day and night. I don't know. I really don't know how you would build to stop this from happening. I don't. Anyway, so yesterday a dark plasma erupted out of the sun, essentially a huge blast of plasma, whatever, lava, whatever you want to call its chemical compound, nuclear ingredients. Actually, one of our subscribers had pointed this out already once before. It was nuclear something is what it spews out. Radiation. I mean, I know it's nuclear radiation, but it's also like other compounds thrown in with nuclear properties to it. Following a dramatic explosion around the sunspot AR 3076, spaceweather.com reported NASA Solar Dynamics Observatory recorded the blast of this solar flare, which began on August 14th around 11:30 UT time, around 1600 ITS or IST. This is now hurtling towards Earth at a terrifying speed. Spaceweather.com further reported traveling faster than 600 kms, which would be 1.3 million miles per hour. The plume tore through the sun's outer atmosphere, creating a coronal mass ejection. Newly updated images from the Solar Helospheric Observation SOHO confirm that the CME has an Earth-directed component. NASA says that the outer solar atmosphere, the corona, is structured by strong magnetic fields. Where these fields are closed, often above sunspot groups, a large CME can contain 1 billion tons of matter that can be accelerated to several million miles per hour in a spectacular explosion. So you guys got to remember that we are basically a peanut to the size of the sun, and when this bad son of a bitch lets off a boom that you don't think it would be that big, it is catastrophically devastating to our atmosphere, and our Earth is only going to be able to take it for so long. I mean, our Earth is already getting old. So is the sun. I mean, both are growing old in time. And how is it that we are just so, I'm not saying humans perfect, because we're far from it. God, we are far from perfect, but you know, how is it that Earth was just made the way it was? I mean, with such a decent atmosphere to it, obviously enough to sustain life, so it's very good atmosphere, but it's electronic magnosphere, like it's electromagnetic sphere. I think I said that one right. How did it get as resilient as it is? You know what I mean? Like, it just all seems like everything lined up perfectly. Whether you believe in religion or Charles Darwin's evolution of theory, that is entirely up to your guys' own discrepancy. Myself, I am actually religious. I am Christian. I'm not a hardcore Christian, but I still believe in God. I still believe in a higher power. For the most part, science is pretty it's pretty good. It's pretty good at telling us exactly what we need to know, but is also science lying to us, and to a certain extent some people would say, you know, that's a very different conversation for a different video. However, one comes to just imagine, back to my point being, is I just didn't really, it never really clicked to me how Earth just turned out to be the way that it was, and you know, so perfect in the way of sustaining life that we are here as of now. So something to very much so think about, I would say. So yeah, more explosions from the sun. Don't know exactly when the catastrophe is going to happen, but keep in mind that all of a sudden from here on in, it could be any day from now that all your guys' electronics are all going to just go down. Let's take a look at the impacts of solar flares on Earth. Space experts warn that the erupted solar flare can impact Earth and leave quite some destruction behind. Space weather reported mentioned that minor to moderate geomagnetic storms are possible midday on August 17th, which is later tomorrow, when a coronal mass ejection is expected to sideswipe Earth's magnetic field. A geometric storm is a major disturbance of Earth's magnetic sphere that occurs when there is a very efficient exchange of energy from the solar wind, meaning the particles that blow off from the sun are basically like, it's like throwing a paint at somebody and it splatters everywhere, right? Essentially, we're getting hit with a spackle. Oh, but yet this spackle is of great radioactive isotopes and particle waves and neurons and atoms and all kinds of shit alike are just going to be hitting us some point tomorrow. Some point tomorrow, you guys. And you might not even notice it. Nothing probably will happen. They say it's a moderate, but 1 minute it's not looking good for us and the next it is. So they kind of often contradict themselves, in my opinion. A geomagnetic storm is a major disturbance of Earth's magnetosphere that occurs when there is a very effective exchange of energy from the solar wind into the space environment surrounding Earth. It can impact satellite communications as well as cause radio blackouts and perhaps even affect power grids. So there you guys have it. Still more. I want to see if they got these newer images. And then, I mean, it gets even better. I mean, let's look at this one. Danger. This 90 feet wide monster asteroid will terrifyingly come close to Earth today, warns NASA. Beware. Scary 60-foot wide asteroid is headed towards Earth today. Life cycle of an asteroid discovered. So, I mean, we even have fucking asteroids coming at us too. Now, of course, clickbait is clickbait. That is for damn sure. But while we're on the topic at hand, I don't see why we shouldn't continue reading. Danger, this 90-foot wide monster asteroid will come terrifyingly close to Earth today, warns NASA. NASA says that an asteroid 2022 PW is going to come extremely close to the planet today as of the date of this, August 16th. Will this 90 feet wide city killer strike the Earth? Find out. Earlier, it was reported that a 60-foot wide asteroid is going to approach the Earth today, August 16th. And to double the trouble, a larger 90-foot wide asteroid is also hurling towards Earth, and it is coming today too. The city killer asteroid is definitely scarier of the two, and not only is it capable of much more destruction given its size, it's also more likely to strike the Earth given how close to the planet it is to expect to come into contact with. If this asteroid does strike the planet, it will easily flatten an area of the size of a small city and can even cause tectonic plates to shift, giving rise to earthquakes. But will it hit us? Find out more. The asteroid has been given the name 2222 or 2022. The asteroid has been given the name 2022 PW according to information provided by Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a department of the NASA. The asteroid is going to come as close as 5.3 Lahak kilometers to Earth. This is dangerously close to the planet. For reference, the moon is 3.8 kilowatt meters from the Earth with a speed of 26,892 kilometers per hour. It will only take the asteroid 19.7 hours to reach the Earth if a last moment devastation took place for some reason. Even as a near object NEOW was spotted just previous months by NASA, we have been able to collect some data about it. For instance, we know that this asteroid is moving in an irregular elliptical orbit where the Phrygion, the point in orbit closest to the sun, is between Venus and Earth, and it's a falling in. The point in orbit farthest from the sun is between Earth and Mars. If the Earth escapes the asteroid strike this time around, we will see this space rock annually until 2024, when it takes a 3-year break before coming close to us again. However, it will not be coming close to us till at least 2053. So, in science terms, that basically means that no matter what, constantly, because of the Earth's orbit, because of gravity itself, because of the sun, because of all the other planets, the orbit is continuously going to keep coming back at us unless we blow the asteroid up or move and derail the asteroid onto a whole different kind of course. So due to its elliptical gravitational gravity, eventually, I mean, it's only a matter of time before this thing does hit us. And where it's going to hit us, nobody knows. It could hit us in the United States. It could hit in Russia, which I bet some people would be thrilled about that. It could hit us anywhere. It could hit the waters, and just assuming that it even hit the waters. I mean, that's going to be wildlife that's killed. That's going to be giant tsunami waves of the likes of anybody's ever even seen in their entire beings of lifetime are going to come into contact with these 500-foot tsunami waves. Okay? So, we're screwed if it hits the dirt. We're screwed if it hits the water. We're absolutely screwed in a lot of different ways if this asteroid really does hit us. Supposedly today, but if not, don't worry, you won't have to worry about it until 2053. Just push it back about 20 more years, and you will see that the problem has not gone away. So, there you guys have it. That's just a little bit of what's been going on in our solar system as of lately. More predictions of asteroids. The sun acting very abnormal. Getting blasted with an atomic bomb of radiation starting tomorrow. The list just goes on, but you know, I always do find these topics very interesting, and your guys' last response in our last video we did on this was rather awesome. I appreciate the fact that everybody likes to tune in to watch these, you know, and it might be too realistic for you, but it's just, you know, I'm one with the planets, essentially. I love the planets, and I don't mind talking about them on the channel. But other than that, you know, that's about it for right now. You guys have been a wonderful audience, and thank you guys so much for continuing to support my channel, you know, and everything else. So have a good one. You guys enjoy the rest of your guys' morning that is watching the video, and I will see you guys very soon. So thank you.